We all want our workplaces to be greener. But how do you get people to do more than just, say, toss a bottle in the right bin? Is it all about making stricter rules, or is there something else going on? Well, we're going to dive into the psychology of what really makes a green work culture tick, and I think the answer is going to surprise you.
First things first, let's talk about why this is so incredibly urgent. Take a look at this number, $1.2 trillion. That's the estimated price tag of climate change on the global economy every single year. And this isn't some abstract future problem. We're talking about real costs hitting businesses right now, from wild electricity bills to actual damage to company property. Okay, so a lot of companies are putting these big, fancy environmental systems in place, and that's great. But here's the thing the research makes crystal clear. Those systems, they're only half the battle. The real, lasting impact comes from the thousands of tiny choices that employees make every single day. So the real question is, how do you influence those choices?
And that leads us to what seems like the most obvious solution of all, leadership. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you want your employees to act green, you just need green leaders at the top telling them what to do. Problem solved.
So, before we go any further, what exactly are we talking about when we say green behavior? Well, it's not just one single action. It's really this whole broad set of environmentally friendly things people can do at work. And in the real world, it looks a little something like this. Yeah, recycling is on the list, but we're talking way beyond that. This is about employees who are actively trying to invent greener ways to do their jobs, who are maybe even pushing back on old habits that are bad for the environment. It's proactive stuff. To get this kind of behavior, researchers honed in on a very specific kind of leadership. Now, it's a bit of a mouthful, I know, environmentally specific transformational leadership. But all that really means is you've got leaders who don't just manage, they inspire. They get their teams so fired up that they actually want to go above and beyond for the planet.
And the theory behind it seems super straightforward. A leader acts as a role model, right? They walk the walk, they talk about why sustainability matters, and the assumption is that employees will just see that and naturally start copying them. Makes perfect sense. Or does it?
And this is where the story gets really interesting, because when researchers actually tested this simple idea, they found a huge gap. That straight line from leader to employee, it wasn't really there. There was a missing link.
A study with 171 employees put it to the test. They asked the big question: does this inspiring leadership style directly cause employees to be greener?
And the answer that came back was not really. There was no strong direct connection between what the leader did and what the employee did. Now, the leader's influence was definitely happening, but it was indirect. It was working its magic through some kind of hidden psychological step. So, we're left with this puzzle. We've got inspiring leadership over here on one side, and we've got the green behavior we want on the other. But what's that question mark in the middle? What's the secret ingredient that actually connects the two?
So let's solve this mystery. How does it actually work? Well, it turns out the key isn't about changing what employees do, it's about changing how they feel.
And here it is. The missing link is something called environmental concern. This is all about how much an employee personally and genuinely cares about these issues. It's about them understanding the problems and, crucially, feeling a personal desire to be part of the solution.
So this is the real path, and it's a three-step dance. First, the leader inspires. They show everyone that this matters. Second, the employee internalizes that message. It stops being the boss's priority and becomes their own personal concern. And finally, step 3, it's that feeling, that genuine concern that drives them to act. So the big takeaway is that leadership doesn't command green behavior. It cultivates it. So what does this all mean for anyone who's a manager or a leader out there? It means we pretty much have to reframe our entire approach to creating a greener workplace.
The old way of thinking was all about compliance. It was, I'm the boss, I'm telling you to do this. But the new reality, the one that this research points to, is about cultivation. The most effective leaders don't just order people around. They create an environment where employees want to help because they personally care. It's a fundamental shift from the head to the heart.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? The goal isn't just to get people to check off a list of green tasks. The real goal is to inspire them so much that they're personally invested in the cause. So I'll leave you with this final thought. We focus so much on creating systems and rules and policies. But what if the real key to changing how we work, and maybe even changing the world, is really about changing how we feel about it? maybe the most powerful tool for change we have isn't a new policy at all, but a shared sense of purpose.